The Nigeria Democratic Congress, NDC, has concluded its nationwide primaries, describing the exercise as a significant milestone in its preparation for the next general elections. The party says the primaries reflect its commitment to internal democracy and grassroots participation, while also introducing a unique model where only successful aspirants are required to pay nomination fees.
Now, every election cycle brings new alliances, fresh ambitions, and renewed promises. For the NDC, the successful conduct of its primaries is being presented as evidence of growing national acceptance and organizational strength. The exercise covered presidential, governorship, and also National Assembly and State Assembly contests, with party officials describing the process as largely peaceful and transparent. Joining us now, our correspondent Joshua Imarai, who has been following this convention very closely. He joins us to have a conversation on it. Let's find out what happened exactly. Joshua Imarai, thank you very much for joining us. Only yesterday, Joshua, I thought it was going to be the PDP instance we're going to be talking about regarding the blockade that they experienced on their way to their convention. I'm talking about the Turaki-led one. But we'll come back and talk about that. Let's talk about the NDC primaries now. Bring us up to speed on how the NDC nationwide primaries actually unfolded. We hear that it was for the ratification of Obi Kwankwaso. It was unanimous. Please give us the details.
Well, yesterday was the NDC special convention for the ratification and affirmation of the Obi Kwankwaso ticket for the 2027 general election. We understand that before now there has been a build-up of primary elections talking about the House of Reps, the Senate, and others. And yesterday was the cap that sealed it off. Yesterday was the deadline that INEC gave to political parties, and yesterday was the same day the NDC affirmed Peter Obi as the candidate of the NDC. We saw that the motion was moved by Senator Victor Obi and was seconded, surprisingly, by Senator Obi Agege. Obi Agege actually resigned from the APC maybe three days ago, and he was on ground to join forces with the NDC. It is, however, unclear if that gentleman is vying for any position. But in the forthcoming days, we'll get the hint of that. But what we saw yesterday was the affirmation of the Obi Kwankwaso ticket, like they will always say, okay. So we understand that they were affirmed and Peter Obi accepted. And immediately, with barring any last-minute change, Peter Obi announced Kwankwaso as his running mate. So we are seeing that come 2027, those individuals will be flying the flag of the NDC come the 2027 general election.
Right. So, Joshua, one of the talking points has been the turnout recorded across the country. How significant was the participation in the exercise, and what does it suggest about the party's growing ambition ahead of the 2027?
Well, based on what we saw on ground yesterday and the individuals we saw associating themselves with the NDC, we understand that the NDC has been strategically positioned as the face of the opposition. Because if you should look at our long party lines talking about the Labour Party, there seems to be some sort of infighting, same as that of the PDP, same infighting. And other parties are smaller compared to the mass within the NDC. And what we are seeing is a large convergence of those who have left these parties that they recorded infighting to the NDC to join forces to wrest power from the ruling party, which is the APC. What we are seeing is general consensus and faith in the ticket of the OB. And we are seeing that stakeholders as well as those who are loyal to the cause of the NDC, they are coming together to reaffirm that, yes, we are ready to wrest power from the NDC. But one thing that is still in the minds of Nigeria is how well is the strategy of the NDC? What do they have to offer? And what will happen in the forthcoming election? How well will they position their agents? How well will they deliver? And in the case of the after election, the post-election, how well will they manage themselves? So these are the questions that we'll be looking to answer in the next coming days based on the activities of the NDC. But what we are seeing is that there's a general consensus from those who left opposition party to the NDC. They have these thoughts that the NDC is one viable party that will be the party to beat, according to what they say.
Let's check this sentiment out regarding this thought that the NDC seems to be the Salvation Party currently. We've seen this before with the ADC, and I'm wondering how much of current politics is actually personality-driven instead of ideology-driven. I don't know if you noticed any of these factors play yesterday in the primaries. or even with the people, the delegates who might have been at the event, did it seem like they were following an ideology or they were following a personality?
Well, from what we saw yesterday, it was more based on personality over ideology, in as much as the individual actually has an ideology to offer to Nigerians. It was more like the personality, because these same persons, we've seen them across other party lines, talking about the ADC, talking about other parties. We saw them move with the same person to the ADC, from the PDP to the ADC to the Labour Party, and they are here, same persons. It shows that there is this something about the person they are following, which is Peter Obi, and Nigerians will be actually glued to their screen to see what plays out. So it is more of an identity-based association, based on what we see.
Do you think that he's coming with the people as well? Do you think he's coming with the people who share the same ideology, or he might be leaving them behind in previous parties? Is that loyalty, does that loyalty follow him into the NDC, would you say?
From the look of it, those who came with him are particularly loyal to the same ideology he has. Of course, yesterday, Peter Obi outlined some of the areas, the grey areas that he's going to touch if he becomes president. And this resonated with the crowd who echoed this same sentiment whenever they were mentioned. A couple of them talked about hunger, the out-of-school children, insecurity, and this was the same overriding sentiment within the crowd. I could see from the crowd, they echoed this affirmation that this was what they were talking about. And it is quite visible that these individuals who came with this particular presidential candidate seems to buy in this idea he's presenting of the new Nigeria.
It's a very, very intricate dynamic here we're talking about with the NDC, because Peter Obi comes with a very interesting squad of people behind him, one whom he has perhaps maybe been leading on since the days of LP into ADC, into NDC right now. And they seem to have a very different kind of process behind them. They're driven especially by social media. They're driven especially by hunger. They're driven by suffering. They're driven by the need for an alternative. And Kwankwaso comes with grassroots numbers. Now, if you put these two together, do you think that they match whatever it is the APC has on ground with their very strong structure?
Well, we saw what played out in the 2023 general election, and if we should factor that in place, Peter Obi actually came toward, if I must say, Kwankwaso scored 1 million votes in Kano, and we are expecting to see the same permutations within this political time frame to play out. Kwankwaso on his part has quite a cloud following, talking about the Kwankwasia movement, the red and the white cap movement. And Obi has his own organic supporters from the youth demography and the social media platform that are coming together. We saw an assembly of those who are actually visible and quite vocal on social media. They were there yesterday talking about the likes of Sarah Ibrahim, talking about the likes of other influencers, the Mama P, the Peter for Nigeria, and all of that. We saw them come together. That is the mix that Peter Obi has. While he has this youthful demographic, he also has what he calls the village boys movement, as opposed to that of the APC, which is the city boy movement. We are seeing a clash of different ideology and movements coming together to form a cohesion under the Peter Obi-led movement. And we are also seeing that Kwankwaso also has his own generic and organic supporters from the north. So what we are actually predicting is that if the chance comes, there will be a collapse of structure under one structure to push the Peter Obi and Kwankwaso tickets for the NDC come 2027.
Well, Joshua, I think my concern here is I wanted to find out, in terms of the people in that room, we know that when it comes to Peter Obi, like Mazino said, his ways are a bit different from what we know. And of course, we agree that there's a lot of godfatherism in politics. Would you say that this new ADC, it's not going to have that feel of politics where it's godfatherism and it's going to be transparent? For example, even if you've been a Peter Obi supporter for years and you move from LP to ADC to NDC, does not necessarily mean you might get any position.
Well, from what we've been seeing in the recent days, because the NDC just concluded its primaries, I'm seeing that they stuck to that mode of direct primaries where party faithful who are loyal to the cause of the NDC came out en masse to vote for their preferred candidate. We saw that those with huge followership on social media and other online platforms actually lost to those who had more organic presence within their constituency. And we are seeing that the NDC is actually relying more on what the candidate has to offer than the clout the candidate has, because you just can't say, we saw how the primary elections actually played out in some areas, and we saw how some who had quite the popularity actually lost ticket to those who had their firm standing and being grounded on the ground for those constituencies. We saw how they won over those who had quite a huge number of popularity. But for God for that reason, this is Nigerian politics, for Christ's sake. We don't know what will happen. But it's a permutation, because somebody made a comment there yesterday saying that this is the party that will not play by the rules, because the rules are actually changed in every circumstances, and those who are the electoral umpire, he made some allegations that those who are the electoral umpire and the ruling party seems to be changing the rules, that this party will not be playing by the rules, but this party will be taking the bull by the horn. So we are expecting to see that play out today.
Yeah, real quick, you want to tell us what impact this will have on the ADC with Atiku being ratified, and what chances against the APC? There are two big contenders here with the NDC in the middle. How will it impact the ADC movement, and is the APC scared now of the NDC movement?
Well, I can't say the APC is scared, but one thing is clear. Let's look at these dynamics.
Okay.
The NDC is actually fielding a southern candidate for presidency. Okay. The ADC is fielding a northern candidate for presidency. And who is in power? A southern president.
Wow.
Based on Nigeria's zoning arrangement, you understand that the South still has one term. So now, if an average Nigerian should look with an analytical eyes and see who should the person vote, that is for Nigerians to answer. But what we are seeing is that they might actually kowtow towards the direction of the zoning arrangement when it comes to sentiment for voters. But we are actually waiting to see that play out. But if we should talk about the opposition, it is quite clear that there will be a division of votes across several lines, because the Atiku-led ADC has its own clout, that of the NDC too, they have their own clout, and the major contender, who is the ruling party here, who has everything to lose, still has his own clout with so many movements within the southern lines and also the northern line. So we are actually seeing that those individuals who are vying for positions will actually capitalize on their strength, talking about their strong areas, to see if they can pull as much vote as they can pull.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Joshua, for joining. I'm sure that if we allow Mazino, he'll keep asking and asking. At this point, I need to teleport him to Abuja, where you are. But thank you for joining us and having this conversation. Of course, we'll see what happens. The election's close by.
Thank you very much.